400 years ago. And there was a guy called Stasius. He was a Greek guy, right? And he was, it was a time where Greece and Persia were at war with each other. And it seemed like at some point Stasius had got captured by the Persians. But he was quite intelligent. And he ended up working for Xerxes II, the king of Persia, as his physician, his doctor, his fucking doctor, right? And but Xerxes, his passion was books. He fucking loved books, and he was never at the big library. Now we are talking about the library. We are talking about the library that Alexander burnt to the ground, but not for another 200 years later. We are talking about that library that this wee Greek guy was in. Okay, so Stasius was in that library, gathering information together from all corners of the world, and he loved books. He fucking loved books, man. And he wrote some books, and most of the books is shite. But one of the books, was a bit weird, because one of the books he wrote about a part of the world that nobody knew anything about, like India, which might as well have been fucking Venus as far as anyone else knew. It was a massive unexplored part of the world, right? And he was gathering stories from like hunters that had been through there, travellers that went through there. He never actually visited like India, right? You don't write a travel book about a country you've never been to, but that's what he fucking did. He did it, right? But he was putting together stories about the strange peoples in that country, their strange customs, the strange creatures kicking about, and he had no reason to disbelieve them, no reason at all. So whenever he heard new stories, and based on his Alexandria library, he wrote this book called Indica, a book about the magic of India, right? And in the book you can recognise some things, like you can recognise when he's describing a tiger, fucking tiger. You can recognise when he's describing a rhinoceros. That's a fucking rhino he's talking about, you know? And there was this group of people, this race of people who had one enormous foot that when it rained, they could put their foot above their head and it acted as an umbrella and stop them getting wet, right? This was in his book. But there was another thing in this wee book which was kind of mental, and it was this weird creature that kicked about that had a long horn, and it was halfway between a horse and a goat, quite small. With a long, straight horn at the front with strange magical properties in this wee thing. And he named the thing in this book the one-horned Indian ass. And from that, the unicorn myth fucking exploded. Over the next couple of 100 years, so many very intelligent people got into it. Like even Aristotle got into it and he mentioned it. And even another, like, 400 years later, in fact 500 years later, by the time the New Testament was getting written, about 80 AD to 130 AD, there was shit getting mentioned in it. In the New Testament of the Bible, unicorns were mentioned 4 times. They've been deleted since, but in the original version they were there 4 times, right? Because at a time where people couldn't read or write, they used symbolism, okay? And they used symbols to tell stories. And the thing about the unicorn was that the unicorn was this amazing creature that could never be tamed. It could never, ever do what it's told by you, which meant that this creature was always going to be absolutely faithful to its own nature. It can never be anything other than totally honest, okay? And as such an honest creature, it became a symbol for stories about Jesus. So if you wanted to write a story about Jesus, but you didn't use written words because nobody could fucking read, you needed to use symbols. So you used symbols like the unicorn to describe what Jesus is. A being which can be nothing but completely fucking honest. And the unicorn symbolism ran with Christianity for the next 1400 fucking years. I mean, if you want to get into like Renaissance paintings and you see paintings of unicorns or tapestries with unicorns, what you're actually looking at is a story, an allegory of Jesus Christ. Okay, that idea of the unicorn being an honest creature, it cannot be anything other than itself, right? And the thing about Scotland was, this was the question, right? Why has Scotland got a unicorn as a national animal? It's because we had this king called James IV, and it was round about the year 1500, and he was fucking nuts on unicorns. And he was so fucking nuts on unicorns. And I mean, fucking everybody knew somebody who'd seen one. But nobody had actually seen one themselves, right? But the King of Scotland really, really fucking wanted one.
No.
So instead of getting an actual unicorn, he sent hunters off into the Highlands of Scotland. Go and find me albino deer. Just deer that are born white. Now, deer that are born white would normally get, well, they're too easily seen and hunted and eaten at birth, right? So they don't normally survive into adulthood. So he sent hunters into the wilds of the Highlands of Scotland over 5 years. And over 5 years, the hunters came back with 4 live albino deer. And he raised them in the deer park in Stirling, which is a wee bit of ways. If you go to the top ramparts of Stirling Castle and you look way down and across there, there's a deer park. It's now a golf course. There would have been these wee 4 white deer that grew up into great big fucking massive beasts that are pure fucking white. They were protected. And he was out there with the French ambassador on the ramparts of Stirling Castle. And he goes, James IV was actually quite a good king, okay? All the rest of them were paranoid fucking nutcases. He was alright, right? But he was out there on the ramparts, and he said to the French ambassador, "Have you seen my herd of unicorn?" You know? And the French ambassador was so fucking impressed. He wrote to the King of France that night. He sent him a letter. Unicorns are real. I've seen them with my own fucking eyes. James from Scotland has got 4 of them. They're real. And of course then James had to actually write another letter to the King of France and says, sorry about that, it was a joke by the way. It's just fucking dear, you know. But they really, really wanted to believe. They really, really wanted to believe, you know. And they were hunting for unicorn all across India. They could never find a unicorn. And the unicorns are so magical and special. Do you know the last time there was a fully sanctioned, fully funded government expedition to hunt for a unicorn was a British government expedition in 1899 into the centre of Africa to hunt for a unicorn. It's not that fucking long ago.
Yeah.
They really fucking believe. And when they went into Africa, they found something called, like, I think it was a tapir or something like that. I can't remember. And that's not a unicorn.
No.
Yeah, okay. So they came out of Africa like, yeah, unicorns are not real. It's a myth, by the way.